So, good morning, and you're very welcome to this morning's discussion on innovation within graduate recruitment. Michael Gorman is my name, and I lead the Financial Services and Banking Recruitment Division for Engage People, where we work hard to align top talent and financial services firms. Engage People are a sponsor of the Graduate Ireland Awards, and we unfortunately couldn't attend in person this year. That's just one of the many examples of the changes we've faced in the last year due to COVID. But where we have change, innovation surely follows, and it's my great pleasure to be joined today by someone at the forefront of that innovation in the graduate recruitment space. Kate Burke is the postgraduate career development and alumni officer from Trinity Business School, Trinity College, and Kate's remit extends to the Masters of Science within Finance, Masters of Science within Financial Risk Management, and Master of Science within Law and Finance. And so it's fair to say Kate is well positioned to chat to us about innovations within graduate. Trinity College itself requires no introduction, and an institution in education since 1592 and consistently ranked by the Times as one of the top 100 universities globally. So, Kate, I hope I got that introduction right. You're very welcome to the chat today.
You did indeed. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought we might kick it off by maybe you tell us a little bit more about the work that you do.
Yes, absolutely, of course, and thank you for that fantastic introduction. As you said, I'm a postgraduate career development and alumni officer, and I'm based in a team that is actually nestled quite nicely within the business school. And my team looks after 800 Irish and international postgraduate students every year. And in terms of what we do, we provide dedicated career support throughout the year for students, but also for alumni. So once they graduate, and there's no cap on it. So, sometimes I'd be meeting with alumni who are 5, 6 and beyond years out. So we also provide career support for them. And that's the alumni in the title. On top of that, we also have a corporate relations arm of our roles. So corporate relations for the business school sits within our team. So we do a lot of employer engagement throughout the year. And of course, that ties in really nicely in terms of connecting employers who are looking to hire graduates, but also a lot of our master's students would have previous experience. So not just for graduate positions, but that and beyond. So we are a point of contact within the business school for all the employers as well.
Brilliant.
I should mention as well, on top of that, we also look after some undergrad. So for me in particular, I am an internship coordinator for one of our undergraduate programs, the Global Business degree. And that is one of our programs that has a credit-bearing internship. So a summer internship between third and fourth year. And so I work with those students in terms of finding positions, and many of them would also be interested in the areas of finance. So as you mentioned, I look after the MSc in finance, financial risk management, and law and finance. So I'm quite heavily immersed in that sector, which is great.
Brilliant, thanks, and I'm glad I got that right. It was a bit of you certainly. I'm sure doing the job is a lot more difficult. It's hard enough for me just to say it. But look, a lot of the firms that I would work with, some of them would be international firms, or some more boutique investment firms here, and a lot on the lending side. They really impressed with the graduates that come out of Trinity, and that kind of goes without saying because Trinity's been at the forefront of that for so long. But I suppose in terms of some of the types of firms that maybe you work with more closely around the graduate side. Do you want to fill us in with on the type of firms that you guys work with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's all levels and all sizes of employers. So and it's also, I should touch on the time of year as well. So when it comes to active graduate recruitment, we're looking at September, October, November, and that's when a lot of the larger firms, will be quite active, where they have quite structured graduate programs, and they could be hiring, quite a lot of, they have quite high volumes of recruitment at that time of year, and so that would be your larger investment banks, but also the likes of the big four as well, which would hire quite a lot of our graduates in particular, and that's across all areas, whether it's the audit or whether it's the consulting. Our graduates kind of go into a lot of different avenues there. We also work with a lot of medium and small size firms. So at this time of year in particular, I would work with actually quite a lot of startups, which might be in the fintech space or just in technology in general. And they might not have a structured that where they hire at one time of year and for the following year have a structured intake, and they might just want to hire a graduate or an intern, on an ad hoc basis as they need it. And so we very much are able to facilitate those, so that we're not stuck to a seasonal time of year. At any point, if an employer wants to engage with us or to hire a student, then we're able to help them.
So that's really interesting, because I think it's a testament to the graduates that come out that it's big four firms and the most reputable and biggest employers in the market that are coming to you guys for graduate recruitment. But I think it's particularly interesting to understand the versatile way that you guys can work with the smaller businesses that maybe don't have that structure in place. And that's, I think, potentially an area that can be explored a little bit more. So, Kate, I think a lot of the listeners to this will be very interested to learn, is there any untapped areas of talent within the Dublin market that would have a strong supply that you'd recommend?
Yes, absolutely. So as I mentioned at the beginning, our team looks after 800 students, of which there's many international students that come to study with Trinity Business School, which is fantastic. And I think it's something that would be of value for employers to know about that talent in international students in terms of the kind of the global experience that they can bring. A lot of them come from some of the best schools around the world. And they're here. And the best thing is that the Irish government has provided the third level graduate scheme, the work permit called the Stamp 1G visa, which some of your clients may not be aware of. And it's fantastic. So once the students graduate, they are able to apply for this visa, which allows them to work for up to 2 years in Ireland. And so that's something that if you, for your any employers watching this, if you are considering hiring a graduate, absolutely consider the international talent. We have a Trinity Business School, and to look into the Stamp 1G visa, which is a great way for them to work.
Brilliant. I think it's really helpful to hear that, Kate, because I think to an extent the 1G visas need to be demystified a little bit. I think there's occasionally some reluctance there, but the regulations surrounding them have evolved in really positive ways in recent years. And I think there seems to be a huge supply of talent there at the moment that would be valuable for anyone looking to add to their graduate team. So, look, thanks very much for sharing that as well. I guess to evolve the conversation a little bit more, what are the ways that these firms kind of interact with yourself and the team at Trinity?
Yeah, so again, I think as we're kind of talking about innovation and graduate recruitment, and based on your introduction, absolutely, COVID-19 has thrown a spanner in the works in terms of how employers would have engaged with students or how they would have interacted with students. And so prior to COVID-19, the most traditional or most common ways of interacting would have been to come along in person to one of our careers fairs, or they might host a one evening during the week, they might host a presentation or a talk, or a guest lecture in person. And so those would have been the two most common ways, in terms of person-to-person interaction with students prior to COVID. We also have a platform, a careers platform called Job Teaser, which is dedicated solely to the postgraduates in the business school. So it's their very own platform that they have. And it's free for employers to create a company profile on that, and they can advertise as many vacancies as they like. If they are running their own events, maybe they're doing their own webinar series, which is getting popular nowadays, they can also advertise those events to our students directly as well. So Job Teaser was fully in operation prior to COVID, but it has proven really, really useful for us as well, obviously, with everything moving online. And so with the rise of COVID, so around this time last year, I think almost to the day is when kind of everything moved online massively. So we moved our virtual careers fair online. So our first virtual careers fair was in May, and again that was open to employers of all different sizes and anybody that wanted to engage. So we have been able to do that, and all of our anything to do with anything like CV clinics, which sometimes we have employers come in where they want to host a CV clinic where they're giving back to the students, but of course their employer brand is associated with it. That's one option. That's very possible online within Zoom. All of our, any guest lectures which are hosted by employers, any presentations, talks, all of that is just moved online, and quite nicely as well, actually. So they're the kind of key ways to engage with students.
Brilliant. So look, there's definitely a lot of variety within that, and really impressive that so much has transitioned to us. Transitioned online, I suppose, and you've been able to adapt. No small task, I'm sure. And is there any kind of new things that have happened in the market in terms of grad recruitment that you've noticed the last 12 months due to COVID or any other trends?
Yeah, I suppose in terms of new things, in terms of the recruitment process, I would say is that the phone screen, which I think this isn't exactly new by any means, but a lot of pre-recorded video interviews have been happening. So platforms like HireVue and ShortlistMe are becoming a lot more prevalent. And again, I think that would be more so in the case of where they're screening quite a lot of applicants. So they might have a lot of vacancies and they're screening high levels. And I think graduate recruitment is so competitive that regardless of the size of your firm, you're likely to get quite a lot of applications. So I think it's definitely what's adapting is the screening process when there's such high volumes. So that's something that I've seen. Also virtual assessment centres. It was really interesting to see how that would work. But employers, I have to say, have adapted really, really well and are providing candidates with a great experience. And I'm getting great feedback from graduates around what they're learning from the virtual experience. So thankfully, it has been, they haven't lost out in terms of what they're gaining from it on both sides, I think.
Brilliant, and I think that's such an important piece, that it's a value add for the graduates and for the employers. I think that's when the magic kind of happens. The platform that we're doing this on at the moment is our own video interviewing service, and I have to say it was not by design that we brought it in for COVID. We already had it in place, but it was a very timely addition, because what we're finding is, from the candidate's perspective, that when we're able to interview them, and what might happen is that I might interview that candidate for 10 minutes, and I can be completely flexible around the candidate's time. It's a very small time commitment for the candidate versus what they might expect somewhere else. But what would the real value add for on the employer side is that not just do they have the opportunity to see the professionalism and the communication skills of the candidate without committing to potentially 1 hour interview, but they also have the opportunity to share that discreetly internally to other decision makers, where they can all become aligned on whether the candidate is potentially a fit. And it's a huge time management piece on both sides of the employment process. The virtual assessment centres sound very interesting as well, but it's wonderful the innovations that we come up with when we're faced with these sorts of challenges. So look, that sounds like some amazing stuff happening at the moment, Kate. But I'd love to get your advice for companies who might be considering becoming more active in the graduate recruitment space, and what sort of advice you might have for them in terms of making those approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, first thing I would say is don't hesitate to come to us, to come to our team. So please don't hesitate to come to us, even if you're just at the ideation stage or thinking about it. We might that you might hire a graduate, whether it be one graduate or 10 graduates a year. Just come to us and we can have a conversation around it. And so I would just say to assess the business needs, and think ahead and consider the learning environment as well that you can provide. The graduate recruitment market is incredibly competitive. You've a lot of bigger players out there. And so you want to consider what you can offer the graduate around learning, around structure, around career progression. So thinking about all of that and packaging it up nicely as well. And you might consider, what some smaller firms do is they might begin with an internship program. So a lot of our master's students, particularly those that are interested in the investment space, private equity space, areas like that, there might be summer analyst positions or summer internships, or they might be kind of placements, or they could be a 12-month internship. And that's a great way for employers to get a feel for having somebody at that kind of entry level or straight out of their masters or their undergraduate, what it's like to have them, and in terms of the environment that you can provide. So thinking about that as a first option, perhaps as well. But please do come to us, and we can chat with you and kind of guide you through it, give our advice, and also perhaps chat with your peers. So if you are, regardless of the role that you're in your company, no doubt you'll have your network. So reach out to them; they might be doing something similar.
Yeah, brilliant. I have to say, I have the benefit of seeing a lot of the CVs of top talented people in Dublin on a day-to-day basis. And what I do notice is those people who've done internships, they've managed to build out a much clearer picture of what they'd like to do long term. And it's not at all uncommon that the people who've done internships within particular businesses go back to work there full time and permanently. And that's really finding alignment. So I think the internship program is particularly strong value add. So, Kate, you've answered my last question for you. It's what's the next step? If we're talking to small, medium-sized businesses who are looking to find all this great talent that Trinity is supplying to the market, what's next step? So, I'll absolutely share the contact details. Who's the best person to get, or what's the best department to get in touch with for companies
Yes.
looking to engage?
Yeah, so it would be so our team within the business school, so TBS Careers at tcd.ie is the best email address. I can also provide you with my contact details as well. That's absolutely fine. So it would be us. Just reach out. Like I said, regardless of what stage you're at, or if you're just thinking about hiring a grad. Also for experienced hire, as I mentioned, some of the companies watching might be looking for somebody, with 2-3 years experience, 4-5+ years experience, and also in terms of our alumni network, we can help you with reaching out to those as well.
Brilliant. I'd highly recommend getting in touch with Trinity. They're working on some extremely innovative stuff, and I'm going to provide my contact details as well if you'd like to get in touch about understanding a bit more about the lay of the landscape of the Dublin market within financial services at the moment. Kate, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat today. You've been very good to give your time, and looks like some really exciting stuff going on at Trinity. But thanks so much for today, and hopefully we'll be speaking again real soon.
Thank you very much.